Welcome to the Just As We Are podcast. I'm Katrina Lelly, certified life coach, aspiring author, lover of people, mama in recovery, and student of life. Each week, I will bring you love, inspiration, the real life stuff people are afraid to talk about, and guests who are willing to shine their light for you. I give you self-care practices and mindset tips to help you shatter the negative stories you tell yourself. Now is the time to step into the beautiful, loved, whole woman you already are. Let's walk this journey together. Hi, welcome back to another episode of the Just As We Are podcast. My name is Katrina Lelly, and I am just so grateful to be here today, sharing with you guys. And for our guest today, Corie Clark. She's a business educator, the author of the Simplicity Project, creator of the Purposeful Planner, and voice of purpose with the Corie Clark Podcast. She is so passionate about helping purpose-driven entrepreneurs launch, grow, and scale their businesses. She teaches women every day how to build a purposeful, profitable business through her Purpose Babe Society and Inner Circle Mastermind. Corie, thank you so much for taking time out of your day to be with me today.
Of course. Thank you so much for having me.
You're welcome. I am just so grateful. Ever since meeting you at the Mommy Millionaire Live event, I knew I wanted to have you on my podcast, and I'm glad that we were able to connect. So just share with the audience a little bit more about yourself and what you do.
All right. So, yes, my name is Corie, and I have been married to my husband, Ryan, for almost 23 years. And we live in Southern California with our 3 kids. And our kids are 19, 17, and 14. And we have lived in Southern California for about 8.5 years or so. And oh man, it's been quite a journey. And about 5 years ago is when I launched my planner, and it just kind of took off and took us down this path that we were not planning on going on. So it's just been a wild ride. And it kind of all started by me just deciding to follow my dreams and start blogging and writing, and and I wrote a book, and then one thing led to another, and people were wanting a planner, and it was like, oh my gosh, I guess we're in the planner business. So we launched our first planner, the Purposeful Planner, it was the end of 2014. It was for the 2015 year. And they sold out in less than a month. And that's just kind of like where everything really started to take off. And we really started like trying to figure out how to navigate running a business. And it's just been a little crazy. And there's been lots of ups and downs. And we've kind of changed we haven't changed our purpose and what we always wanted to do, but it's not just about planners. It's really about helping women discover or rediscover their purpose and then equipping them to live it out. And so the planner kind of just is like a small part of what we do. So yeah,
that's amazing.
It's been crazy.
You said you wrote a book. What kind of book did you write?
So the book was called The Simplicity Project. And the reason I wrote it, I actually had a different book I wanted to write. And I kept trying to take the time to sit down and write it. And this was very beginning of 2014. And what I realized was our life was just so chaotic. We just had so much going on. We had a ton of stuff and nothing really outside of the norm. But what I realized is that we just had too much going on, and I didn't have the room in our life to really pursue my dreams, or to even just sit down and write a book or anything. And so what we did was we decided to spend a month and just simplified our lives. And so I kind of recorded what we did, and then I turned it into a book called The Simplicity Project. And then I wrote the book just kind of sharing how I simplified my life and how we created margin in our health, our home, our finances, and our time. And then that was able to, once we did that, it was actually like created the space for me to write that book and to actually start the planner business. So yeah, it's just, and then as people started reading the book is when they were like, can you make a planner that implements what you teach in the book? And I was like, okay. So it wasn't like I never intended, I never set out to start a planner business. It just kind of organically like happened. Yeah, it was
Oh,
crazy.
that's so awesome. I love how, implementing something in your own life and simplifying. I mean, doesn't want more simplicity in their life, right?
Yes.
Especially as moms. And then from that, like this whole other animal takes off. And that's just so amazing. What did you do before all of that?
So I have homeschooled my kids since my oldest was starting second grade is when we started homeschooling. And I used to, when we lived in Northern California, I owned a salon and I did hair. And I've kind of always like had the entrepreneurial bug. I've always wanted my own business of some sort. And so I did hair part time while I was raising the kids and doing homeschooling. And then when we moved to Southern California in 2011, I wasn't really doing anything. I was homeschooling the kids. I was blogging a little bit, didn't have any sort of full blown business or anything. I was just kind of focused on doing the mom thing and homeschooling. And yeah, and then in 2013 is when I started to get more serious about blogging and decided like I really wanted to write a book, about following your purpose. And that was when, like, very beginning in 2014 was when I was like, I don't even have time to like write. Like, I gotta figure out what's going on with our life here.
And then you wrote a book.
Yes.
I love how that
Yes.
works.
I
I love
know.
that. So you have 3 kids, 19, 17, 14. How is
Mhm.
that being mom and balancing and starting your own business, like all of the things? Because that was what, 5 years ago-ish, right?
Yeah. Yeah. 5 years ago. It's been interesting and I've had to be really intentional about trying to create that like work-life balance. And I kind of like to call it like the work-life ride because, it's not like finding that balance, it never stays the same. It kind of shifts. And I think when you can learn to become aware of that and to see when it's going to shift and to be prepared for that, that's what helps you like keep that balance. And so knowing when we're coming into a busy season, right now is our busy season, planners are shipping because it's getting ready for the new year. So this is always our busy season. So we just do more when we're in the off season to, take time off, to spend time with the kids. And we still do that when it's our busy season too. But we just know like if we're coming into a really busy season with, the planners or with my mastermind or anything like that, we just know like we plan everything way out in advance and we make sure we set aside time for the kids, for family time, for date nights, for stuff like that. And it's just, honestly, it's about being really intentional and disciplined.
Yeah, and I think that some women out there, moms, we're balancing all of these different things. And if we don't have that foundation of knowing to be intentional, then thinking about doing that can be overwhelming and coming
Mm-hmm.
into this whole new process. Like, I know I could use, we briefly talked about that. I'm getting organized. Like, I know I could use
Yeah.
more organization in my own life, especially as I launch this business and I'm following my purpose. And it can seem overwhelming for a mom to like, okay, now I got to try to incorporate another thing, like figure out something new. What do you say
Mm-hmm.
to those women who like, they know they should do it, but like, what do you say to them to kind of just help them get over that hump? Because that overwhelm hump can be very daunting.
Yeah. The best advice I can give is just to take baby steps and figure out. So, like when I wrote my book, my Simplicity Project book, I wrote it because like what I had figured out, what we had gone through and what we had figured out was we figured out how to create just a little bit of margin in each area of our lives, and like in each of those 4 areas of our life. And that little bit of margin was actually like made a huge difference. So I think a lot of times, I mean, it's almost like a diet, like women, like we tend to go on these crash diets so we can get fast results, but then you can't maintain it. And so it's the same thing when you're going to simplify your life or get organized or plan. I think if you try to go all in and give your life this crazy overhaul, it's not going to stick. And so you're better off sitting down, make a list of the things that you got to get done, and then spend 15 minutes working on it. If it's like your finances are a mess and you need to get your finances in order, just make a list of the things that you need to do in that area, and then just like little baby steps. And I'm like a huge fan of like setting my timer for 15 minutes, because when something's super overwhelming, like it can freeze you and you're like, oh my gosh, I don't even want to like try because I'm never going to finish it. But if you just work on it for 15 minutes and then give yourself a break, like a lot of times, like it's not as bad as you think. Something that you might think is just going to take you hours on end might only take you like 30 minutes. And so I think just taking those tiny baby steps like helps you to see and to realize it's not as overwhelming as you think it is.
I agree with that. I'm glad that you shared that. And it isn't as, if you start with those tiny baby steps. And I think like you shared we so often get into that. It's got to be all or nothing. And I got to do it big, the go big or go home saying. And, when you're trying to implement anything new in your life, starting with those simple steps and cutting out that time is a huge piece of it. And 15 minutes, you're right, 15 minutes really isn't that long. When we think about it, it seems like, oh my gosh, 15 minutes, where can I fit in it? Well, there's lots of areas to fit that in for sure.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And honestly, like, and then when you set your timer, you kind of work a little faster because you're trying to beat your timer. It puts a fire under your butt. You're like, oh, I got 15 minutes. Like, how much can I get done? And it's like, and it feels good. And then it helps like get that momentum going.
Yeah. Tell me a little bit more about your husband. What does he do? Has he been on board with this? Are you guys partners in business? How does that work?
Yeah, he does like a ton with the business. He helps. He's kind of almost like my manager, project manager. He makes sure, he like schedules, like this interview, like he did all of the back end getting it scheduled. He oversees big projects. We have a live event next year. So he's overseeing all of that, getting all the people in place that we need to get lined up and that kind of stuff. So he definitely is, he doesn't really like to be like the face of the business or anything like that, but he definitely is like the backbone. He helps make sure everything's in order, takes care of the finances, all of that kind of stuff. So, and he's just super supportive, and we've always been really good friends, and we've always worked together really well. And so it's just been really fun to have him helping with the business. And it's kind of like he's very visionary, so he helps me set the goals for the business. And we have all these huge dreams and plans for the next 5 to 10 years, and so it's been really fun to have him be part of it.
Oh, that's amazing.
Yeah.
I love that. I love that a lot. I foresee that coming in the future for my husband and I. So
I love it.
I love talking to couples about that. And I'm like, yes, I see that happening. I love that. So I've talked to a couple of friends lately who are moms, and, a couple of them, there's a theme that keeps coming up in that whole, I don't want to be just mom. I don't want to be known just as mom. And I know that there's more for me. And in those little years, it's more difficult because the kids, they deserve all of our attention and they need all of our attention. But we can also get really run down during those years and feel like, is this all there ever is? What do you have to say to moms who are going through that or thinking about that?
Yeah, and I totally get it, because I remember feeling that way. And it wasn't that I didn't find value in being a mom, because I totally did, but there was just always something inside of me that was like wanted more. And it wasn't because I wasn't content either, but it was just like this this like fire and this passion inside of me that like I really wanted to pursue my dreams. But it is, like you said, it's super hard when they're young. They need so much from you and so much attention. And I would just say, like, it feels like when your kids are young, it feels like it's going to last forever. And it feels like you're never going to get to that point where you can start pursuing your dreams again. And I would say, like, on one hand, like, have some patience because it's actually going to go quicker than you think. But on the other hand, like, find little pieces of time or some sort of time during the week, or, get a babysitter or something, and do something that you do love doing. Even when my kids were little, I loved, like I said, I always had like this entrepreneurial bug. And so when my kids were babies, I would make baby blankets and sell baby blankets. So it was like I was still doing things that I could, but they were just like on a smaller scale, or they were just when I had the free time, when the kids were down for a nap, I would make a couple blankets. So I definitely don't think that women should like suppress their dreams, but you just have to find like that balance, and that like how can you like get creative, and maybe just for a half hour here or a half hour there, like how can you fuel that? Because I do think that you should nurture that, and you should take care of it, and you shouldn't ignore it if you do have a dream. But I think you also need to remember that, like, even though it feels like they're going to be babies forever, it goes so fast.
It does. It really does. And I realize that more now with my third, probably because my olders are so much older, and then there's 10 years difference, and you really see how fast it goes. Because when you're in the midst of it, it's like almost walking through fog in a way. And it's just like, oh my gosh, where is the end to this? And before you know it, you're out of it, and they're in middle school and then high school and that type of thing. So to go kind of alongside of that, where do you find your worth?
It's like that is something that like I feel like every woman struggles with, and like wondering if they're worthy. And I feel like when I am like walking out my purpose, when I am doing what I feel like I've been called to do, that is when I really feel like, okay, I'm doing this because it's what I've been called to do, and I'm helping women. But at the same time, I have also learned to not like attach any of those outcomes to my worthiness, because I'm worthy like just as I am, And so I feel like that's been the struggle. Like I used to feel like I have to do these things to be worthy. And now it's kind of flipped and taken like a completely different turn. And it's like, no, I am worthy. And that's why I get to do these things, because I am worthy of it. And I am worthy of like fulfilling my purpose. And I am worthy of helping these other women, and like doing what you're doing, helping these other women like realize that they are worthy exactly how they are. And because of that, they get to pursue the things that they want to pursue.
And how did that shift take place for you? Was it an overnight thing, which I know the answer is no, but what do you do to help? What did you do to help you shift that thinking and put yourself in that belief?
Yeah, it definitely was not an overnight thing, or it wasn't even like a one moment in time that I'm like, oh, that's when it happened. It's been like little by little, like over the last several years. And I would say even more so just in the last year. And I think the more we step into what we're supposed to be doing, then the more we realize like who we really are, and we like really understand that worthiness. And so I would definitely say like, and I think I don't even think I'm done with the journey. You know what I mean? Like, because it still creeps back in like, well, I don't know if I should do this. I don't know if I'm worthy of this. And it's like, you just get those little like thoughts that creep into your mind and kind of like hold you back. And so I don't think I've like made it. I don't think I get it 100%, but I think I'm so much further along than I was even just a few years ago.
Yeah, it's a daily thing. It's a daily process of working on yourself and being intentional with that. And, I think you've already shared on it, how important it is to schedule in that time for ourselves and to do some self-care and, self-development, grow ourselves, which is pretty much the same thing. It's all encompassing, but to really be intentional about that and to grow ourselves in that way. I know there's a lot of moms out there who, maybe they have a big dream, maybe they don't have a big dream. They just know that the way that they feel is that unworthiness or shame or the stuff that they carry around with them and are kind of, in that fog and in that lostness. And, there's a way out. And I just hope that we keep sharing that hope and sharing the stories, because the more we talk and share about it, then it loses its power. Those thoughts.
Exactly. Yeah, that's so true. And it helps women too, the more that when you share your own story, then it gives another woman a chance to think like, oh, me too. Like, oh, I'm not the only person going through this. And they can see that there's light on the other side, and they can see that it's really not as hard and overwhelming as, like women, like we get so in our heads and we make things so much bigger and scarier than they really are. And so when we share our story, it helps connect with other women who can see a little bit of themselves in us.
I love that. Share with us just a couple of things, if you don't mind, that are in your planner that have helped so many women, like a couple simple things that are included in that are helpful in that way.
Yeah. Okay. When I went to make the planner, part of me was like, well, I don't know, there's so many planners. And I was really trying to find one that encompassed the things I wanted in there. And the reason women started asking for it was because in the book, I talk about creating margin in your health, home, finances, and time. And you kind of need to integrate all of those areas because they really all like bleed into each other. And
Can I ask you? I'm going to ask you, will you explain margin a little bit, what you mean by that?
Yeah. Like, I just mean like a little bit of room. Just a little bit of room, a little more time. So creating a little bit of margin means like, it's not like you have to have this crazy overhaul, and so when you do that, you create a little space and you in your health, home, finances, and time. So I couldn't find a planner that had a place for all of those areas in it. And so it does have space for, like, at the beginning of each month, there's like a master task list for you to kind of do home stuff. You can go through and make a list of all the things that need to be done around your home. And there's like a menu planning sheet and there's a budget sheet. And so, but one of the things I love is every day in the planner, there's a little 15-minute task. And so it helps you just stay on top of things around the house. And it's 15 minutes. It's something, it's the things that sometimes we forget about, like wipe down the appliances or, just random things like that, declutter a dresser drawer. But it's just a little 15-minute task, and every day has a different one. And so it's kind of fun to just know, like, each day you are going to get something done that needs to get done that you might otherwise have forgotten about. But there's so many things I love about the planner. And there's a place to like track your water and your health, kind of write down like what your exercise is, or if you take medications, you can track those. It just has a space for everything so that you don't have all these like notebooks and planners laying all over the place. It's all in one simple place.
And your planner, is it just not paper?
Yes.
Okay. Yes. Gotcha.
Yeah, paper planner. Yeah. And we actually have, so the daily planner was the original one. And then we also have a weekly one. And we actually just came out with a brand new, it's called 90 Days of Purpose. And so it's undated. The other ones are dated. This 90 Days of Purpose is undated. And I created it because it's actually something that I've been doing. And on one side, when you open up the planner, on the left page, it's where you can write down your gratitude, your affirmations, your dreams, all of that kind of stuff goes on the left side. And then the right side is a place for your schedule and your to-do list. So it's just very plain and simple. It's a little bit smaller than the other ones. So I'm really excited about that new one.
I love that. And I love that you had the space to write down those dreams and goals and things like that, because it's important to keep those right in front of us with all the other task to do stuff. like to
Exactly.
keep immersed in those and knowing that, okay, doing these things are helping us work towards those things.
Mm-hmm.
Which makes me think about, sometimes when we set a goal of some sort and we think that I've had coaches tell me, like, just go do something, go do whatever it is. And it doesn't have to. And to me, it was always hard to put, well, this doesn't directly relate to my goal. So how in the world is this? But it changes your energy. It changes the state in you're in, which eventually directly relates to how you show up for your goal.
Exactly. Exactly. Yeah. And so the reason I did that was like in the morning, I've been doing this for a long time, but I decided I wanted to put it in one place where in the morning I'd go through and do my gratitude and my morning affirmations and dreams and set some intentions for the day. And so it puts me in the right mindset so that then when I go to the next, I look to the right side and it's like, as I'm making my to-do list, I've already set those intentions. And so it just kind of helps you make better decisions on like, what should I be doing today? How should this day look? You know? And so it really does help you like come into your day with a better frame of mind.
No, I love that. I really do. I really love that you've provided this for women and, well, for anybody, not just women, but it's such a valuable tool, especially in the busyness of the world today, and having that stuff to just kind of help us stay organized and stay, in check and focused. It's very easy to get unfocused. And I know for me, I like lists. I don't always make them. That's part of some of my goals in getting organized, but like having those things written down and checking them off and, seeing where, okay, this is what's next, this is what's coming, down the road, and all of those things, it's just helpful and it's simple. I love it.
Yeah, yeah. It does. I know. And it's, if you don't make a plan, you're going to end up, well, probably not where you want to be. It's going to be harder to get there. Better to go into your day having a plan because we do, like you said, we get sidetracked. There's so much coming at us all day, every day, social media, TV, the news, people, like it just doesn't matter. Like and if you don't have a plan to kind of come back to, get like refocused, it can be hard and you can get really off track.
Yeah. Yeah. What is one thing that you personally are working on for yourself right now to grow through and transform in your own life?
I would say like I'm super excited about my live event next year, but it's also my first one. So I have a lot of like, worries and hesitations. And so trying to work past those and knowing like, same thing, like knowing I am worthy of this. I am like, I can do this. And so it's crazy because I'll go from being like super, super excited to like super scared and like, what in the world are you doing, Corie? So I would say that is kind of, and it's like, it's going to be next fall. So I think I'm going to have a lot of work to do between now and then, as far as like, obviously like the physical work and the preparation, but like the mental stuff is going to be a lot too.
Yeah. Yeah. What kind of event is it?
It's a live event for women. So we're going to have like a few hundred women, and it's just going to be all about like helping them discover their purpose or rediscover their purpose and really set like a vision for their life. And so like the first day is going to be all like purpose driven and personal development. And then the second day is going to be like strategy and, how to turn that into making money and business and that kind of stuff. So I'm really excited.
Is it for women, for pretty much any women that she knows she has a dream, or what kind of women are you hoping to pull in there?
I think that whether if they don't have to have a business, but there will be business and strategy talk. So I would say she at least needs to have a dream or a hope of starting a business or already be running a business. So it really is for like the purpose-driven female entrepreneur.
Love that. That's exciting. I'm excited for you.
Thank you. I'm so excited.
That'll be so fun. Yay.
Yeah.
Do you have anything else on your heart that you really want to share with the audience?
Gosh, I would just say, like, if you are listening to this and you still feel like, I just don't know if I can do it. I don't know if this is right for me. You just have to start doing something. Because even when I started my blog, there's no way in the world I could have ever told somebody that day I started my blog that I would be sitting here talking to you about my planner business and about my live event and about my mastermind and about a book I wrote. Like, I would have never known. But if I hadn't started that blog, none of those things would have ever happened, And so I think so many women get frozen in wanting something to be perfect or wanting to know exactly how it's all going to go. And then they don't even start. And so just taking a baby step is going to bring so much clarity, and clarity is worth so much more than anything else. Like, once you have that clarity after your first step, then it gives you that clarity for the next step. And then it gives you the clarity for the next. And it just ends up leading you down this path that you could have never planned out yourself. So I would just say, like, don't sit frozen in fear and perfectionism. Just take a messy step, do it scared, do it messy, do it imperfect, and see what happens.
Oh, I love that. You brought me a little bit of chills. You pretty much just talked about me. So,
but it's the truth, right?
It is. It is so the truth. And that's one thing, like, there's a lot of things, but sometimes you wish you could just almost take this gift and put it inside that person so they could see it and feel it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. Because it really is not as complicated as it seems. It's just, when you seriously are like, I just don't even know what to do, like, start pursuing something that, like, gets you excited and see what happens. If you feel like maybe I should write a book, start writing it. Like, you don't, once you start writing, then words start coming out that you're like, oh my gosh, where'd that come from? Like, there's really no, like, guidebook to tell you what to do except to just start.
Yeah. Oh, I love that so much. So much. Thank you so much for joining me today and sharing your heart with my audience. I had such a pleasure talking to you. Where can we find you?
Oh, well, thank you so much for having me. I really enjoyed it. So my website is CorieClark.com, and it's CORIE. And I'm on Instagram at Corie Clark. I love connecting with people on Instagram. Facebook, I mean, pretty much everywhere, Corie Clark, but, yeah. And I love to connect on Instagram. So definitely follow me on there, send me a DM, and I'm happy to. I just love meeting people. That's just my favorite place to hang out.
Yeah, I love watching your stories. The whole Christmas tree putting up thing, that was awesome. I love Instagram stories. You really get to know people and their family that way.
I know. Yes, it definitely was not the picture perfect decorating night, but it was perfect for me because it was my family.
Exactly. I love that. So thank you again so much for being here. I just enjoyed this time with you.
I did too.
If you guys liked this episode, if you loved this episode, go over to iTunes, leave us a 5-star review, and go follow Corie on Instagram. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Hi, friends. If you enjoyed this episode of the Just As We Are podcast, it would mean so much to me if you would head on over to iTunes and leave me a 5-star review. Take a screenshot of today's episode and tag me at Katrina Lelly on your social media. If you haven't already, head on over to the Just As We Are podcast community on Facebook and hit join, where you will get to join more of the Just As We Are tribe. And remember that no matter where you are on your journey, you are completely whole and loved just as you are.